Papoose had always carried himself like someone who believed loyalty was his strongest weapon. And for years, his name was almost inseparable from Remy Ma. Whenever people talked about dedication in the hip-hop world, Papoose and Remy Ma were the example everyone pointed to. But recently, the conversation around Papoose has changed. And the whispers about regret surrounding Papoose have started getting louder. Insiders close to the situation claim that Papoose never expected things to spiral the way they did. And now Papoose is facing a reality where every move he makes is being dissected by fans, critics, and even people who once stood firmly in his corner. Remy Ma, on the other hand, has not stayed silent while all this unfolds. Remy Ma has always been known for speaking her mind, and this situation is no different. People who follow Remy Ma know that Remy Ma does not easily back down from drama, especially when her name is involved. When rumors started circulating that Papoose might be feeling regret about certain decisions and certain alliances, Remy Ma's response was immediate and sharp. Remy Ma made it clear that she was not interested in protecting anyone's image anymore, especially not Papoose's. And that alone has turned this situation into something far bigger than anyone expected. The tension between Papoose and Remy Ma did not appear overnight. For a long time, fans believed that Papoose and Remy Ma were one of the few couples in the industry who had truly figured things out. Papoose stood by Remy Ma during her most difficult years, and Remy Ma publicly praised Papoose for holding everything together while she was gone. That history is exactly why the current situation feels so shocking to so many people. When people hear about regret connected to Papoose, they automatically look back at the entire story between Papoose and Remy Ma and start wondering where things first began to crack. According to sources who claim to have spoken directly with people in Papoose's circle, the conversations about regret started quietly behind closed doors. Papoose reportedly began questioning certain decisions that had pushed him into the middle of public drama. Some insiders say Papoose underestimated how quickly public opinion could shift once the narrative began changing. Papoose had spent years building a reputation around loyalty and stability, and now that reputation was suddenly being tested in ways he never predicted. Remy Ma seems fully aware of that shift, and instead of stepping back, Remy Ma has leaned into the moment. People who watched Remy Ma's recent interviews and social media posts noticed that Remy Ma was speaking with a tone that suggested she had been waiting for the truth to come out. Remy Ma hinted more than once that the public did not know the full story behind what had been happening between her and Papoose. Every time Remy Ma dropped another subtle comment, fans rushed online to analyze every word, trying to piece together what Remy Ma might be revealing about Papoose. At the same time, Papoose has been navigating the situation in a much quieter way. Instead of launching direct responses, Papoose has mostly allowed the speculation to swirl without confirming or denying everything being said. That silence has only fueled more curiosity. Some fans believe Papoose is staying quiet because he is carefully choosing his next move, while others believe Papoose is struggling with how quickly the narrative slipped out of his control. What makes the situation even more complicated is how deeply the story of Papoose and Remy Ma is tied to their public identities. Papoose built much of his image around being the loyal partner who never wavered when Remy Ma needed him most. Remy Ma, in return, often credited Papoose for helping her rebuild her career and personal life after difficult chapters in her past. Because of that history, the idea that Papoose might now be dealing with regret feels almost unbelievable. Two longtime fans who supported the couple from the beginning, but people close to the situation say the pressure of public attention has made everything far more intense than either Papoose or Remy Ma expected. Every rumor, every comment, and every subtle reaction gets magnified instantly. Papoose is now in a position where even silence can be interpreted in a dozen different ways. Some observers say Papoose may regret not addressing certain rumors earlier because the longer the silence lasted, the more space there was for speculation to grow. Remy Ma appears to have taken a very different approach. Instead of avoiding the conversation, Remy Ma has been dropping comments that seem designed to keep people talking. Fans notice that whenever Remy Ma responds, the energy online immediately shifts again. Some people see Remy Ma's responses as a powerful clapback, while others believe Remy Ma is simply telling her side after staying quiet for too long. The biggest turning point in this situation may have been when discussions about Papoose's alleged regret began appearing in online blogs and entertainment discussions. Suddenly, the narrative changed from simple relationship tension to something deeper. People started asking whether Papoose had miscalculated how certain choices would affect both his image and his relationship. With Remy Ma, that question alone pushed the conversation into a completely different territory. For Papoose, the challenge now is not just about handling personal issues, but also about managing a reputation that took years to build. When someone's public identity is so closely tied to loyalty and consistency, even a hint of regret can feel like a massive shift. Fans who once defended Papoose without hesitation are now divided. Some still believe Papoose deserves the benefit of the doubt, while others think the silence coming from Papoose is telling its own story. Meanwhile, Remy Ma seems increasingly comfortable letting the tension play out in public. Remy Ma has made it clear that she is no longer interested in protecting the image of a perfect partnership if that image no longer reflects reality. In several moments that fans quickly circulated online, Remy Ma suggested that the truth about what happened between her and Papoose might be far more complicated than people realize, as the conversation continues growing louder. One thing is becoming clear. The story involving Papoose and Remy Ma is no longer just about a private disagreement. It has evolved into a public narrative filled with speculation, emotional responses, and constant reactions from fans who feel invested in both of them. Every small detail gets amplified, and both Papoose and Remy Ma are now navigating a spotlight that refuses to dim. Some insiders believe the next move from Papoose could determine how the entire situation unfolds. If Papoose eventually addresses the rumors about regret directly, it could either calm the conversation or intensify it even more. On the other side, Remy Ma seems prepared for either outcome. Remy Ma has shown time and time again that she is willing to speak her mind, regardless of how uncomfortable the truth might be for others involved. Right now, the tension between Papoose and Remy Ma continues to build as fans watch every development closely. The idea that Papoose might be reflecting on past choices while Remy Ma openly pushes back has created a dynamic that feels unpredictable. Neither Papoose nor Remy Ma appears ready to fully close this chapter yet. And the longer the situation continues unfolding, the more people begin to wonder just how much more there is still left to reveal, as the tension between Papoose and Remy Ma continued to spread across social media. More people from the hip-hop community started quietly speaking about what they had been hearing behind the scenes. Papoose suddenly found himself at the center of conversations he never expected to become public. For years, Papoose had controlled his narrative carefully, always presenting himself as the loyal husband standing beside Remy Ma no matter what the situation looked like. But now Papoose was facing a moment where the story was no longer completely in his hands, and the whispers about Papoose feeling regret were beginning to grow louder with every passing day. Several insiders claimed that Papoose had been trying to keep certain personal frustrations private for a long time, according to people who had interacted with Papoose recently. The pressure of maintaining a perfect public image had started weighing heavily on him. Papoose had spent years protecting the legacy of his relationship with Remy Ma, and many believed that protecting that image had become almost like a responsibility Papoose felt he could never escape. But once cracks in that image started appearing publicly, Papoose reportedly realized that the narrative he had worked so hard to maintain was slipping away. Remy Ma seemed completely aware that the public perception was changing. Instead of trying to calm the situation, Remy Ma appeared ready to confront it head-on. Remy Ma began dropping statements that hinted at deeper issues between her and Papoose. And every time Remy Ma spoke, fans felt like another layer of the story was slowly being peeled back. The way Remy Ma spoke about loyalty, trust, and respect made many people wonder whether those comments were directed straight at Papoose. Fans immediately began connecting Remy Ma's words to the rumors about Papoose's regret. Some supporters of Remy Ma argued that Papoose had made certain choices that pushed the relationship into dangerous territory. Others defended Papoose, saying that the pressure of public scrutiny could make any situation appear worse than it actually was. But what made everything more intense was the fact that neither Papoose nor Remy Ma were fully explaining the details. Instead, both Papoose and Remy Ma seemed to be communicating through subtle messages that left fans trying to decode every sentence. One moment that especially caught attention came when Remy Ma hinted that people often pretend to be loyal only when it benefits their public image. That statement immediately triggered speculation about whether Remy Ma was referring directly to Papoose. Within hours, social media was flooded with discussions about the possibility that Remy Ma had finally reached a breaking point. Many fans began revisiting old interviews where Remy Ma had praised Papoose endlessly, comparing those moments with the tone Remy Ma was using now. At the same time, Papoose appeared to be watching the entire situation unfold without rushing to defend himself. Some people close to Papoose suggested that he believed responding too quickly could make things worse. Papoose reportedly felt that emotions were running high and that adding more fuel to the fire could turn a tense situation into a full public feud. But the longer Papoose stayed quiet, the more people interpreted that silence as confirmation that something serious had indeed happened. For Remy Ma, the silence from Papoose seemed to only strengthen her determination to speak openly. Remy Ma had always built her reputation on authenticity and directness, and fans expected nothing less from her now. When Remy Ma responded to certain rumors, she did not appear interested in softening her words. Remy Ma made it clear that she believed the public deserved honesty rather than carefully crafted narratives. Observers began noticing that Remy Ma's comments often focused on the idea of accountability. Remy Ma repeatedly emphasized that people should stand by their actions instead of pretending mistakes never happened. Even though Remy Ma never directly accused Papoose of specific actions in those moments, the timing of those comments made it difficult for fans to ignore the connection. Many people started to believe that Remy Ma was gradually preparing the public for a much bigger revelation about what had truly happened between her and Papoose. Meanwhile, people within Papoose's circle were reportedly urging him to respond carefully. Papoose had built a reputation over the years as someone who avoided unnecessary drama, and many of his supporters believed that reputation was still worth protecting. Some advisors reportedly told Papoose that responding emotionally could damage his credibility even more. Because of that, Papoose seemed to be taking time to decide whether addressing the rumors directly would help or hurt his position. The difficulty for Papoose was that the narrative surrounding regret continued growing stronger. Bloggers, commentators, and fans were now openly discussing the possibility that Papoose wished he had handled certain situations differently. The phrase Papoose regret began appearing more frequently in online discussions, and each new mention added another layer of pressure on him. For someone who had spent years portraying strength and certainty, the idea of public regret was a difficult narrative to manage. Remy Ma, however, appeared increasingly comfortable with the attention. Instead of retreating from the spotlight, Remy Ma seemed to recognize that the conversation was now impossible to avoid. When Remy Ma addressed supporters who were asking questions about the situation, she hinted that the truth often takes time to surface, but eventually cannot be hidden. Those comments only intensified speculation that Remy Ma had much more to reveal about her experiences with Papoose. Some fans started wondering whether the relationship between Papoose and Remy Ma had been under pressure for far longer than anyone realized. Looking back at older moments from their public appearances, people began analyzing small interactions that previously seemed harmless. Suddenly, those moments were being reinterpreted through a completely different lens, with fans trying to determine whether signs of tension between Papoose and Remy Ma had been visible all along, despite the growing storm of speculation. Papoose still had supporters who believed he was being misunderstood. These fans argued that Papoose had demonstrated loyalty for years and deserved patience while the situation unfolded. They pointed out that Papoose had supported Remy Ma during some of the most challenging periods of her life, and they believed that history should not be forgotten so quickly. Yet, even among Papoose's supporters, there was an undeniable sense that something serious had changed. The calm confidence that once surrounded the image of Papoose and Remy Ma as an unbreakable couple now felt uncertain. Each new comment from Remy Ma seemed to push the story further into the public spotlight, while Papoose's quiet approach kept people guessing about what he might be thinking behind the scenes. As days passed, the narrative surrounding Papoose's alleged regret continued evolving. The possibility that Papoose might eventually break his silence became one of the most anticipated moments in the conversation. Many believed that if Papoose chose to finally address everything openly, it could reshape the entire story. Others suspected that Papoose might remain silent for as long as possible, hoping the attention would eventually fade. But Remy Ma's attitude suggested that fading attention was unlikely. Remy Ma seemed determined to make sure that her voice remained part of the discussion. The more Remy Ma spoke about honesty and accountability, the clearer it became that she was not interested in allowing the narrative to be controlled solely by speculation. Now the situation between Papoose and Remy Ma had reached a point where every move mattered. A single statement from Papoose could completely shift public perception, while another powerful response from Remy Ma could ignite an even bigger wave of reactions. Fans were watching closely, knowing that the next development in the story might reveal whether the rumors about Papoose's shocking regret were truly accurate or whether an even more complicated truth was still waiting to emerge. The longer the silence from Papoose continued, the more the public conversation started leaning in Remy Ma's direction. Fans began feeling like Remy Ma was the only one willing to openly address the tension, while Papoose seemed locked in a quiet battle behind the scenes. Every day that Papoose chose not to directly respond created another wave of speculation, and people started wondering whether Papoose was struggling to find the right words or whether Papoose simply did not know how to repair the damage that had already been done. Remy Ma appeared, completely aware of how that silence was shaping the narrative. Instead of stepping back, Remy Ma continued speaking in ways that made fans believe she had far more to say than what had already been revealed. When Remy Ma addressed loyalty again during a live conversation with supporters, many people immediately noticed the sharp tone in her voice. Remy Ma made it clear that loyalty should never be used as a performance for the public. While something completely different is happening behind closed doors, the moment Remy Ma said that, social media exploded with people debating whether those words were aimed directly at Papoose for years. Papoose had been celebrated as the definition of loyalty in the hip-hop world. Papoose had stood by Remy Ma during one of the most difficult periods of her life, and many fans had admired Papoose for the patience and commitment he showed during that time. Because of that history, hearing Remy Ma question the meaning of loyalty now created an emotional reaction from longtime supporters of both Papoose and Remy Ma. Some fans felt heartbroken watching two people who once seemed inseparable, now speaking about each other through tension and distance. Meanwhile, people close to Papoose reportedly began urging him to consider addressing the situation more directly. Several insiders claimed that Papoose understood the longer he waited, the harder it would become to control the narrative. Papoose had always been someone who valued respect and reputation, and now both of those things were being debated publicly in ways he could not fully control. The idea that Papoose might be reflecting on past decisions continued circulating through online discussions, and that possibility made the situation feel even more dramatic. Remy Ma, however, did not appear interested in softening her approach. Remy Ma had reached a point where she felt her voice needed to be heard clearly, in several posts that fans quickly shared across social platforms. Remy Ma spoke about the importance of standing strong when the truth finally begins to surface. Remy Ma did not mention Papoose directly in those messages, but the timing made it nearly impossible for people to ignore the connection between her words and the rumors surrounding Papoose. As the tension continued building, fans began digging deeper into past moments between Papoose and Remy Ma. Old interviews resurfaced where Remy Ma had spoken with admiration about Papoose, calling him her rock and the person who never abandoned her during her darkest days. Seeing those moments again made the current situation feel even more shocking. The contrast between those heartfelt memories and the present tension between Papoose and Remy Ma created an emotional reaction across the fan community. Some observers began suggesting that the relationship between Papoose and Remy Ma might have been carrying hidden stress for much longer than anyone realized. Maintaining a powerful public image while managing private disagreements can place enormous pressure on any relationship, according to a few people who claim to have insight into the situation. Papoose had started feeling overwhelmed by the expectations that came with being viewed as the perfect partner. That pressure may have slowly built over time until it reached a point where it could no longer remain hidden. At the same time, Remy Ma appeared determined to reclaim her own narrative. For years, the story of Remy Ma and Papoose had often been told through the lens of Papoose's loyalty. While that loyalty had once been something Remy Ma publicly celebrated, she now seemed ready to tell a more complex version of the story. Fans noticed that Remy Ma's tone suggested she wanted people to understand that relationships can have layers that outsiders never see. Papoose continued, observing the situation carefully, while the conversation around him intensified. Sources close to Papoose suggested that he was deeply aware of how quickly public opinion could turn in moments like this. Papoose had spent years earning respect in the industry, and the idea that people were now questioning his actions was something he reportedly found difficult to process. Some insiders believed that Papoose was taking time to think about how to respond in a way that would not escalate the situation further. But every time Remy Ma spoke, the urgency around Papoose responding seemed to grow. Remy Ma had always been known for her confidence and willingness to confront challenges head-on, and that energy was clearly visible again during one particularly intense moment online. Remy Ma suggested that people should stop pretending certain stories are perfect just because they look good from the outside. Fans immediately interpreted that statement as another reference to the public image she once shared with Papoose. The emotional weight of the situation was also becoming clear to people who had followed both Papoose and Remy Ma for years, watching two individuals who once represented loyalty and resilience. Now moving through such a tense moment felt almost surreal. Supporters who had celebrated the strength of Papoose and Remy Ma as a couple now found themselves choosing sides or trying to understand what had truly happened. Despite all the speculation, the biggest unanswered question remained whether Papoose would finally speak openly. Many people believed that if Papoose decided to explain his perspective, the entire narrative could shift overnight. Others suspected that Papoose might still believe silence was the safest option, hoping the situation would eventually calm down without a direct confrontation. Remy Ma did not appear interested in letting the conversation fade away quietly. Her responses suggested that she believed the truth deserved attention, no matter how uncomfortable it might be. The confidence Remy Ma displayed made it clear she was no longer focused on protecting old narratives if those narratives did not reflect what she felt was real. Now the tension between Papoose and Remy Ma had reached a level where every word carried weight. Fans were paying attention to every interview, every post, and every subtle reaction from both sides. The possibility that Papoose might finally break his silence continued hanging over the entire situation like a storm waiting to arrive. And as the days passed, one thing became impossible to ignore. The story involving Papoose's alleged regret and Remy Ma's fiery responses was far from over. If anything, the emotional intensity surrounding Papoose and Remy Ma suggested that the next chapter of this story might reveal even more surprising truths about what had really been happening behind the scenes for so long. By the time the situation reached this stage, the conversation surrounding Papoose and Remy Ma had grown far beyond a private disagreement. What once seemed like quiet tension had now turned into a full public spectacle. And both Papoose and Remy Ma were feeling the pressure of millions of eyes watching every move they made. Fans, bloggers, and commentators were analyzing every detail, trying to determine whether the rumors about Papoose's regret were actually true or simply another example of social media. Turning speculation into headlines. For Papoose, the situation had become increasingly complicated. Papoose had always prided himself on moving with patience and discipline, especially when emotions were running high. But this time, the pressure felt different. Papoose was not only dealing with questions about his personal life, but also confronting a narrative that threatened to reshape how people viewed his entire legacy. For years, Papoose had been known as the man who never abandoned Remy Ma, the man who stood strong when many others would have walked away. Now the public conversation was shifting, and Papoose was realizing that protecting that legacy might require him to finally speak. People close to Papoose claimed that he had been spending a lot of time reflecting on everything that had happened. According to insiders, Papoose understood that some decisions had placed him in a position he never expected to face. The rumors about regret were not just random gossip anymore. They had become a central theme in the public discussion surrounding him. That reality forced Papoose to confront a difficult truth. Sometimes silence can create more questions than answers. Remy Ma, meanwhile, appeared stronger than ever in her determination to speak her truth. Remy Ma had reached a point where she no longer felt obligated to protect a version of the story that did not represent her feelings. Fans noticed that Remy Ma's confidence seemed to grow every time she addressed the situation. The energy in her voice suggested that she believed the truth was finally beginning to surface. And Remy Ma was ready for the world to hear it. During one of her most talked about moments online, Remy Ma spoke about how people often underestimate the strength it takes to walk away from something that once meant everything. That statement immediately sent shockwaves across social media because many believed Remy Ma was hinting that the chapter involving Papoose might truly be coming to an end. Hearing Remy Ma express that kind of emotion made the entire situation feel even more serious at the same time. Supporters of Papoose continued urging patience. Many longtime fans argued that Papoose had earned respect through years of loyalty and dedication. They believed that judging Papoose without hearing his side of the story was unfair. These supporters reminded everyone that relationships are complex and that the public rarely sees the full picture. Still, even among Papoose's defenders, there was a sense that something significant had shifted. As the story continued evolving, rumors began circulating that Papoose might finally be preparing to address everything publicly. Some insiders suggested that Papoose had been carefully considering how to express his thoughts without escalating the conflict further. Papoose reportedly understood that one wrong statement could ignite an even bigger storm. At the same time, remaining silent forever was not a realistic option either. Remy Ma appeared ready for whatever response might come. Her attitude made it clear that she was no longer afraid of confrontation. Remy Ma had built her reputation on strength and honesty, and she seemed determined to stand by those qualities now more than ever. The idea that Papoose might soon respond only added more anticipation to an already explosive situation. Fans began debating what Papoose might say if he finally broke his silence. Some believed Papoose would attempt to clarify misunderstandings and explain that the rumors about regret had been exaggerated. Others believed Papoose might admit that mistakes had been made and express genuine reflection about the choices that led to this moment. Either way, the possibility of hearing directly from Papoose had become one of the most anticipated developments in the entire story. Meanwhile, Remy Ma continued reminding her supporters that personal growth sometimes requires difficult honesty. Remy Ma suggested that people should never feel pressured to remain silent just to protect appearances. Those comments strengthened the belief that Remy Ma had already moved forward emotionally, even while the public drama continued unfolding around her and Papoose. Observers also began pointing out how quickly public narratives can change in the entertainment world. Not long ago, Papoose and Remy Ma were widely celebrated as one of the strongest couples in hip-hop culture. Their story was often described as proof that loyalty and commitment could survive even the most challenging circumstances. Now that same story was being re-examined from a completely different perspective for Papoose. That shift represented one of the most difficult aspects of the entire situation. Watching a narrative he had helped build for years suddenly transform into a source of controversy was something he reportedly found deeply frustrating. Papoose had always believed that actions speak louder than words. But now words from others were shaping the public perception of his actions. Remy Ma seemed fully aware of how powerful that shift had become. Instead of trying to restore the old narrative, Remy Ma appeared ready to write a new one. The determination in her voice suggested that she had already accepted whatever changes the future might bring. Remy Ma was no longer focused on maintaining a perfect image. She was focused on telling her truth. As the drama reached this critical point, fans across the internet continued asking the same question. Would Papoose finally break his silence and explain the truth behind the rumors of shocking regret? Or would Remy Ma's powerful responses continue shaping the narrative alone? The uncertainty surrounding that question kept the story alive day after day. One thing had become undeniable. The chapter involving Papoose and Remy Ma was no longer just about a relationship. It had become a story about reputation, honesty, loyalty, and the emotional consequences of living life under a public spotlight. Every new comment from Remy Ma and every quiet moment from Papoose carried meaning. And as the world continued watching closely, felt like the final piece of the story was still waiting to be revealed. Whether that revelation would come from Papoose finally speaking his truth or from Remy Ma continuing to expose her perspective remained uncertain. But what everyone agreed on was simple: the story of Papoose's shocking regret and Remy Ma's fierce response had already changed the way people looked at both of them. And the impact of this moment would likely be remembered for a long time. If you want to hear more deep breakdowns and shocking celebrity stories like this, make sure to stay tuned and keep following for the next updates, because the drama surrounding Papoose and Remy Ma may still have even more twists waiting to unfold. If you've been following this intense situation between Papoose and Remy Ma, then you already know this story is far from over. Every day, new reactions, new rumors, and new details continue to surface. And the truth behind what really happened could still shock a lot of people. So, do you want to stay updated on everything happening with Papoose, Remy Ma, and the biggest celebrity drama unfolding right now? Make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and turn on notifications so you don't miss the next video. And let me know what you think in the comments. Do you think Papoose really regrets the choices that led to this situation? Or do you believe Remy Ma is finally revealing the truth about what happened behind the scenes? Your opinion matters, and this conversation is just getting started. Stay tuned, because the next update might reveal even more than anyone expected.